Well, this is the display that we had for the Truth in Science Summer School. You can see it's obviously, your classic creation research resource display, but you can see over on the right-hand side, we've got a few new display things. We do like to take along some museum exhibits and exhibitions as we travel around, and that includes to your churches as well. You'll remember from Craig's report that he took around some of the fossils from his museum as he went around in his road trip. So yes, we do like to try and take some displays and stuff, and this is actually a sort of a proper collaborative thing within creation research, because you see I managed to source a number of Lucy skeletons, the casts of the Lucy skeletons, two of which I sent on to Australia, one for John, one for Craig, and then John in Brisbane helped to develop a whole series of murals detailing information about Lucy, but also you can see the brain drain display there as well, talking about how we've gone from good to bad to worse. And well, we don't have as much space in Australia, generally speaking, and that is just as true for the museums as well. And so what I spent a little bit of time doing was taking these murals that were very, very well done by Australia. So shout out to Gary and Steve and some of the others who've been working on them, along with John and Diane, who helped to do the content. But what I've done is we've taken them and actually put them into roller banner format so that we can kind of utilize them at the museum, but also actually have them on a traveling exhibition. So yes, if you want creation research to come and visit your church or your school or your group, then get in touch, because this is the kind of thing that we're wanting to produce and copy around the world so that we can come and bring you the real evidence. Then we went to Kevin Lee, which is a big homeschoolers conference in Wales. We've been going for about 4 years now, and the first 2 years we were going, we just took, a whole bunch of stuff, right, to go on display. Very good, very popular, and I'd do a whole load of activities as well. But a couple of years ago, the comment that was made was, can we try and do something a little different every year? And so what we have decided is to use this conference, this retreat, as a sort of a trial ground, a guinea pig ground, if you like, for some new exhibitions. So last year we developed our Living Fossils exhibition, which is now on display in the Creation Research Centre in Oswestry. And then this year we did the Big Question exhibition, or the Big Questions exhibition, which the three big questions was dinosaurs, ape men, and evolution. And again, these are all murals that have been put together, or many of these are murals that have been put together by our Australian office, which we were able to translate into roller banners: Science and the Bible, the Real Conflict. And in fact, John has said many times that if you want an amusing challenge, ask a university student or suggest to a university student that they write their next thesis on the effects of Noah's flood in the real world, or the benefits of using Noah's flood geology on modern science. And you'll find that you won't get very far at all, because the real conflict between the Bible and science, you can actually see it there on the roller banner. The Science Teacher, November 2003, scientific theories are therefore explanations about aspects of nature without reference to God. Now, just about 200 years ago, you had Louis Pasteur, one of the greatest scientists ever to have lived, say that science was thinking God's thoughts after him. Now, I think that's one of the best descriptions of what science actually is, right? So how did we go from science is thinking God's thoughts after him to scientific theories have nothing to do with God? In fact, they have to exclusively exclude God. Well, you can see where the banners go on to talk about Darwin, and then talk about Charles Lyell, who was Charles Darwin's mentor, and then the fact that Charles Lyell's aim was to free science from Moses. You see the conclusion there? The real battle is not religion versus science, it's truth versus error. You see, these murals are designed to make people think. But we've said that before, right? We have a museum project. Museums are designed to make you think. It's written there in the name, right? Muse, think about, mull over, get your brain working. The reality is most museums now are no longer museums. They are simply there for your amusement. non-thinking. They just present a whole load of nonsense and a few nice dinosaur models to make you happy or amused. So yes, with the creation research museums, we really do try and get you to think through things. Oh, there's the full Lucy display. Doesn't it look good with Lucy in the middle? Well, you see everything about Lucy, from the jawbone to the size of the brain to the proportion of the arms to the hip. It all shouts the fact that she was an ape. She wasn't a human being and not even a human ancestor. In fact, don't be scared of challenging people, and don't be scared of understanding what names mean, because as Diana has pointed out many times, Australopithecus simply means southern ape. Oh, that's Lucy's proper name, if you like. But in fact, we had at the Truth in Science Summer School this display, and we spoke to Nigel Jones, who I'm hoping to have on the Creation Conversations program one day. He's a retired medical surgeon, and he's a big supporter of the work that we do and the work that John does. But you see, I showed him this skeleton, and I said, "Can you tell me what kind of skeleton we're looking at? Is it a human or an ape?" And he took one look at the vertebrae and he said, well, you might be able to get a human spinal cord through that bottom one, but there's no way you'd get it through anything else. And even the body proportion tells you that it's an ape. You see, the medical professionals certainly know what they're talking about. There's Lucy there, backlit. And this is a mural which I sort of put half together anyway. Oh, you see our giant boa constrictor skeleton there? It's a real one, by the way. We have it in our museum project. And you see the little tiny snake as well? Well, you see, you might even say that it's good to bad to worse, because yes, you get a huge amount of diversity in the world today. But have a look at the mural. You see the size of the boa constrictor, only 10 feet long. I mean, even the biggest ones can get to around 14 feet, but 10 feet is about your average. But it's absolutely nothing compared to the titanoboa, which could have reached up to 50 feet in length. Now, that's pretty enormous. That's pretty impressive. Yeah, snakes identical in every way between the titanoboa and the boa constrictor, except that one is big, one is little, simple to complex, good to bad to worse, devolution. That's the point we make at the top there, right? And the little mural at the bottom, you can actually see the original fossil of this from Jay Taylor in the Brisbane Creation Museum. Your modern salamanders tend to be tiny little things. The largest that are alive today is the Chinese or the Japanese giant salamander. Still not too big, but especially rather when you compare it with the giant fossil one, the Metoposaur. So yes, the real history of the world is good to bad to worse, and we use this example everywhere. Oh, and this is one that I think you might be interested in, Glenn. I know that John is. You see how we've pulled together a whole bunch of these polystrate tree murals. Well, I put together the banner over on the far left-hand side, right? Poly meaning many, straight referring to strata or layers. So polystrate passes up through many layers. Many of these trees, by the way, are ones that have been uncovered by creation research exclusively. One or two of them, like the ones that were published in the National Geographic and in the Old Geologist's Journal, the one in Manchester, right? But you see the point that we make in the mural? Polystrate trees have no branches. They have no roots. They have no soil at the base. There's no leaves in the coal. They're buried next to giant marine shells, buried in water deposited strata, and they're found worldwide. And in fact, you can even do experiments with test tanks and sticks to show that these trees have been waterlogged. They've been washed along in water. So everything from the polystrate tree off of a highway in Tennessee to the polystrate tree that you have to use quad bikes and side-by-sides to reach because it's in the middle of nowhere, to the one that I think you visited recently, Craig, in New South Wales, all the way through ones in the UK, you see these polystrate trees are found all around the world. Great display to actually show people that this is evidence of a worldwide flood for sure. Creation, yeah, is it a new idea? You'll find many critics claim that it was the Seventh-day Adventists that dreamt up the idea of young earth creation. It's complete nonsense. You see that Bishop Theophilus, all the way back in the 1st century, claimed that creation occurred just a few thousand years ago, not the tens of thousands as Plato, etc., have written. And you can read about many of the church fathers and the reformers and their beliefs on creation. And well, you can't see the full slide at the full panel at the bottom there, but it says, therefore, it's not the evidence that disagrees with the biblical record of creation and Noah's flood over the last 6,000 to 7,000 years, but it's the opinions of mankind that set out to discredit the word of God, just like it says in the book of 2 Peter. Yeah, murals have always been good for teaching people about creation. We've got creation to the fall, the global flood to the Tower of Babel. It's a great way of getting people to realize the real history of the world in picture form as described in the book of Genesis. Dinosaur history, we had a huge dinosaur display, and we'll talk a little bit later about that mural over there on the left hand side about the presence of original biomolecules or soft tissue in ancient bone. There's been a new report that's come out just a couple of days ago that's well worth talking about, which we'll come to later after Glenn's little program. It was a great time to be able to engage with people, to be able to talk to people, to be able to display this stuff. And by the way, just a little bit of fun here. Here's one of our regular volunteers, Joshua, who at the homeschool conference, they put on a concert at the end, right, where they put the talents of lots of young people on display, from recitals to playing instruments and piano. And, well, I don't think I've seen anything quite as cool as a Spinosaurus with a rock guitar before. But you'll find that they put on an absolutely epic show. These are the same family that come and help us to do things at the museum, as well as our big dinosaur convoy that we had down in the Osler Street Christmas Parade, which, by the way, we're going to be doing again this year. But let me just give you a very brief little snippet of some of what they were doing, because I don't think you've seen anything quite as cool as a rock and roll dinosaur before. There you go, a little bit of fun of a rock and roll dinosaur. But